some of our products. Been a naturopathic doctor in BC for over 25 years. Also founded the Boucher Institute, which is the second accredited naturopathic college here in BC. Absolutely passionate about food as medicine and sustainable practices. So before we begin this talk, there's a lot of information we could cover. My goal is to be able to get this talk completed in 30 minutes, leaving ample time for questions at the end. So by all means, write your questions in the chat at the corner of your webinar that you're viewing, and hopefully we'll get some engaging questions that I can answer at the end. So what we're going to cover today, certainly going to talk fairly quickly about toxic planet that we live in, and that these toxins does in fact affect our health. Now we're going to obviously talk about how we can overcome this through clean nutrition, sustainable lifestyle strategies, including things like non-toxic chemicals and things that you can use to clean your house instead of those harsh chemicals, and some really helpful smoothie recipes that can keep you clean and healthy, and as well it would be better for the planet. So first slide here is fairly complicated. I'm sorry that some things have gone off the page. We can certainly send you the ebook here that would have a better view of this particular slide. The big picture is that we have 7.4 billion people living on this planet. And the only way we can sustain this ecosystem is to be able to recycle everything, including the air, the water, the food that we use. And that means that everything we consume and eliminate must be organic. Otherwise, our forests, oceans, and farms cannot recycle this back to these essential elements that we need. Okay, so that's our organic ecosystem. Anything outside of the sustainable ecosystem causes problems. So if you look on the left side, chemical inputs from pesticides, chemicals in our processed foods, it's pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals that are synthetically made, the cosmeceuticals, personal care products that are all found traces in our drinking water will cause problems. So you see on the right side, disease formation that come from pesticides, from processed foods, drugs, and so on. So all these things cause problems. And then on the left side, Chinese manufacturing, they actually make $2.9 trillion of goods per annum using coal as their main fuel. And they are the largest emitter of carbon dioxide. Just last year alone, they built 144 new coal-fired plants to keep up with manufacturing demands. That means all these fumes that are coming out from there actually is raining down into neighboring countries, including Japan, Korea, and the US. Coal contains impure heavy metals like arsenic, mercury, lead, and others that cause various diseases. In 2015 alone, 1.6 million Chinese died directly as a result of cardiovascular disease, lung disease, and cancer. And further down the left side, protein choices is really, really important to understand what are good, clean protein choices. According to this documentary called Spiracy, 1 to 2 acres per second of our rainforest is being destroyed and converted to agricultural land to raise cattle. 91% of the forests have been destroyed. 3,000 liters of water is used to produce each burger. 55% of fresh water use is used this way. 80% of antibiotics is used in the agricultural industry, and that leads to huge numbers of meats that are contaminated with superbugs. On the right side, you'll see that 51% of total emissions of gas actually comes from cattle raising. That's much more than the pollution combined between industry and car pollution. 86% of nitrous oxide gas emissions comes from cattle raising. And in fact, nitrous oxide is 300 times worse as a toxin than carbon dioxide. 110 species of insects and animals have been disappearing per day as a result of this deforestation. And eating meat, as we all know, is the number one cause of cardiovascular disease and the number 2 cause of cancers, and that is the colorectal cancer that comes from people with a lot of meats. The last thing here has to do with fish and oceans comes from the information comes from the documentary called Mission Blue. So since the 1950s, we're now down to 5% of fish stocks compared to what used to be. 50% of the world's population still rely on fish. as a main protein source. 75% of our oceans have been exploited, and we're still harvesting 80 metric tons per year. And there's 5 kilograms of biofuel per kilogram of fish that's killed. That means there's a lot of wastage there. Fish have high levels of mercury, PCBs, and drugs. 50% of oxygen comes from phytoplankton from our oceans. So the key question is, what do we do in 30, 40 years when our main oxygen generators coming from the rainforest and the oceans have been decimated? So while you're pondering on that, let's move on. Climate change. Well, there's obviously been a surge of carbon emissions that have increased Earth's surface temperature. Some parts of the Arctic have warmed up to a total of 15 degrees Fahrenheit, resulting in the melting of about half of the ice mass, according to National Geographic. Aside from the usual air pollution, there are thousands of chemicals that we come into contact with every day, from makeup to lotions, shampoos, and cleaning agents. There virtually is no regulation in the cosmeceutical industry, as well as toxic cleaning agents, air fresheners, fabric softeners, etc. There are, in fact, more than 84,000 different chemicals used in North America, amounting to, get this, 42 billion pounds a day of chemicals that we're exposed to. That's the equivalent amount that would fill 623,000 shipping containers that's being exposed to North Americans. The EPA was set up in the 1970s under the Toxic Substance Control Act in 1976. By then, 62,000 chemicals were already in use and were grandfathered in. So, is there a connection between these everyday chemicals that we're exposed to and our declining health? And I would say, of course there is. We heard enough about pollution from cars, industries, waste disposal, now cosmeceuticals and personal care products. But what about agriculture and Teflon gas? We talked about a little bit about the raising of cows and the decimation of rainforests. Teflon food is actually caused by the heating of Teflon coating on your pans made by DuPont. So even just heating it for 2 to 3 minutes, you're getting this off-gassing that can cause low birth weight in newborns, elevated cholesterol, abnormal thyroid levels, liver inflammation, weakened immunity, and they even kill pet birds. I had this patient years ago who had this unusual rash coming on and going off, and there was no clear definition, clear connection as to what was causing it. I had her do allergy tests, got on organic foods, and it wasn't until we realized that she was cooking on Teflon, where once we removed that, the rash completely disappeared. So there are people who out there using these things who are having symptoms to it. So maternal exposure to heavy metals, pesticides, solvents, phthalates in plastics, perfluorochemicals found in food wrappers, secondhand smoke, all can lead to miscarriages, preterm birth, and so on. Maternal toxin can be passed on to the fetus through the placenta and the breast milk, leading to obesity, diabetes, and cancers in the adult offspring. Males could also be affected by chemicals, causing the sperm to be weak and mutated. So this is just absolutely an eye-opener when I came across this. According to EWG, the Environmental Working Group, the average newborn has 287 chemicals in its core blood, including 180 carcinogens, 217 neurotoxins, and 208 chemicals that cause birth defects. Since the pervasive use of synthetic chemicals in the 1950s, there's been an increase in childhood brain cancer by 38%, childhood leukemia by 74%, asthma by 80%, ADHD by 53%, and birth defects by 100%. Contaminated water, yes, here you see highlights from various sources. Drinking water contaminated by excreted drugs, irrigation of crops, and this is the ironic thing, irrigating our foods with water that came from wastewater that had been treated that contained traces of pharmaceuticals, hormones, personal care products, and flame retardants. The other study at the bottom shows nutraceuticals, and we'll talk more about this later, medications, illicit drugs, animal excretions, personal care products, also in our drinking water. So we're bombarded from the air and from our water source. Case in point, systematic review of 762 studies show that, in fact, depression, in more than 80% of cases, chronic fatigue was misdiagnosed as depression, and that these poor folks are taking antidepressants because their doctors and psychiatrists don't know what to do with them. There's no such pill for chronic fatigue, so they're waiting for symptoms to come from the patients that might indicate that they have low mood, don't feel like getting out for work and school, and say, hey, why don't you try this? And so this is a 2008 published in the Journal of Clinical Psychiatry. The next study makes it even more interesting, published in the Scientific American in 2013, showing that 250 million prescriptions of antidepressants are filled every year in the US, making it the most commonly prescribed medication. So the previous study were true, and 80% of 250, which is 200 million prescriptions, are used unnecessarily, and that traces of these drugs, when they work their way from the toilet into the streams and rivers and into the oceans, are now being picked up by our Pacific salmon fry, causing these fish fry to have symptoms like anxiety, being antisocial, aggressive, and even homicidal. So not only are we prescribing things wrongfully, but a lot of these traces of toxins are making its way into our food chain. So let's talk about chronic diseases. The prevalence of pesticides, GMO foods, drug residues contribute to our overall toxic load. And add to this our poor diet, nutritional deficiencies, daily stress, and it's not difficult to see that chronic inflammation will start to occur that eventually lead to chronic diseases like cardiovascular disease, cancers, neurodegenerative diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's, and diabetes. So after all of that, I think it's quite justifiable that we have to look to nutrition and other strategies to keep us clean while living in this toxic soup. So what I'm saying is that we all live in this toxic soup, bathe in chemicals on a regular basis that is in our air, water, and food and homes, and it seems unavoidable. Yet, with all these ever-present chemicals, the good news is that we can do something about it through good nutrition, clean eating, and sustainable practices. Next to our lungs, the liver is the largest detoxification organ, capable of ridding the body of most poisons that otherwise can accumulate and cause harm. The key is to eat and take supplements that assist in regular cleansing, including vitamin C, selenium, zinc, phytonutrients, and large amounts of fruits and vegetables, of course. To avoid the 4,000 chemicals found in processed foods, the animal products that have been associated with cardiovascular disease, synthetic nutrients, pesticides, GMOs, we can make healthier choices by consuming fresh organic produce, eating a plant-based diet, and taking organic supplements. So why organic? Well, guess what? If you look to the right bottom side of the slide here, that's taken from a website called beyondpesticides.org, which has done extensive research connecting pesticide exposure to these various diseases, including Alzheimer's disease, asthma, birth defects, cancers, and so on. Organic foods have far fewer and smaller quantities of pesticides. They're more nutrient dense, have more phytonutrients to protect us from chronic diseases, and antioxidant capacity. A study that came out showed that elementary kids have much higher body burdens of pesticides during the summer season when they're eating more fresh produce. And so just switching to an all-organic diet after 5 days, their bodies are now pesticide-free. So it goes to show that organic really is the only sustainable way to live our lives on this toxic planet. If you can't access organic foods, you might want to look at the EWG list of the Dirty Dozen that are high in pesticides, and to eat more from the Clean 15 that you can consume without much worry as to pesticides. Again, you can get these lists from your book, which we'll talk about at the end. So eating a plant-based or a plant-centric diet is better for you and the planet. A plant-based diet is more anti-inflammatory as opposed to eating a meat-based diet, which in fact is pro-inflammatory. And we know that with all chronic diseases, it starts with inflammation. So that's really a key message. So now let's talk about supplements. My personal story is that when it came to nutritional supplementation, I was taking handfuls of the stuff and I was nauseated. And when I was treating people with chronic disease, I always wanted to treat some of the key metabolic issues that I felt was really the start of it. And really a lot of these problems stem from chronic stress. And when I put these people on stress tabs, B vitamin C, invariably I would see a good proportion of these people suffering from side effects like nausea, headaches, and vomiting. And this wasn't it wasn't clear on the cause until I discovered that vitamins were made from chemicals, including petroleum byproducts, coal tar derivatives, formaldehyde, ammonia, cyanide, etc. And you know, on the other side, I was working with people with osteoporosis, chronic inflammation, using alkalizing minerals like calcium, magnesium. I never was able to effectively work with people with these conditions. Again, when I dug deep, discovered that minerals are in fact made from rock parts, and that our bodies can't break these things down. No wonder I wasn't able to effectively treat osteoporosis and many anemia cases. Unless we have gizzards like chickens, we really can't break down bits of sand and rocks to save our lives. So literally, about 10 years ago, I threw away all these supplements from my clinic dispensary and went looking for natural. And then here's something I discovered when I went to trade shows. Most of these ingredients are made from companies like DSM and DuPont, who are the biggest sponsors at these nutraceutical trade shows, and they supply the synthetic ingredients to most of the nutraceutical manufacturers. So I created the supplement line to address the #1 issue that affects 80% of North Americans, and that is chronic stress. And what that causes is metabolic depletion by way of adrenal deficiency and burnout that leads to low cortisol. Eventually people feel fatigue, have low mood, weight gain, inflammation, chronic infections that eventually lead to thyroid problems, hormonal imbalances, and so on. So this is a line that is focused on metabolic support for those reasons. This spring, we launched this new Moms A to Z to address some of the key issues. Moms are particularly stressed and commonly deficient with things like B vitamins, iron, vitamin D, magnesium, and especially folate. So I formulated this product to specifically address these needs for pregnancy before, during, and after. Given the 287 carcinogens and neurotoxins that we've talked about found in umbilical cords, and certainly without understanding with the prevalence of these neurological conditions in newborn, you certainly want to consider using a clean mom supplement like this to give the child best chances. This reminded me of a mother who came to see me years ago about having severe morning sickness with her first 3 children. And since she wanted to have one more child, she wanted to avoid these symptoms. And after months of eating a cleansing diet and taking some detoxifying herbs, she eventually had a 4th child without the morning sickness and vomiting. So it makes sense to mom to do a preconception cleanse and to take organic supplements well before they plan on conceiving, and to give that child the best chance at starting a healthy life. Our first multi-format consisted of 25 different organic ingredients to supply those key nutrients that are so important for our day-to-day lives, particularly to support metabolic organs like the liver, the pancreas, adrenal, and thyroid glands. So this gives you the 25 essential vitamins and minerals. It also comes with amino acids, fiber, and various nutrients. Excuse me. Quanta Organic B is made only from organic lemon, guava, holy basil, and spirulina. Contains large therapeutic doses of all the essential B vitamins that is meant to really kickstart and to maintain your adrenal metabolism, overcoming fatigue without the use of stimulants, helping to lose weight, maintain mood, prevent inflammation and infections. Your adrenal gland requires large amounts of Bs as well as the C, which we're going to talk about next. So C is actually made from only organic amla berries and moringa leaves, provides you with the natural form of vitamin C that's more absorbable than the synthetic ascorbic acid that you see commonly in the marketplace today. There's also, this is also a key nutrient that the adrenal gland uses in large quantities, as well as supporting your immunity and healing leaky gut for those people that have allergies and autoimmune conditions. The iron is an important topic to discuss when we talk about metabolism. We're, after all, aerobic metabolizers, so having iron to capture the oxygen is a critical part to providing the oxygen to our cells for cellular metabolism. Iron is only made with the organic curry leaves, amla berries, and moringa leaves in our product, and it is the main source of highly absorbable iron, that comes from the curry and have been used in Ayurvedic medicine for 3,000 years. Unlike the iron made from rock parts, this iron will not cause side effects like constipation and stomach upset. So in fact, in our practice, we're seeing that 80% of our patients taking this iron supplement, because it is food-based and highly absorbable, their serum iron and hemoglobin will typically go into normal ranges within a month or two. Here are smoothie boosters that we created, which is a convenient way for those who don't have the time to make smoothies or are traveling. And so all you have to do is dump the powder into a water bottle, shake it up, and drink it. So if you have a busy lifestyle, it's made for you, flavored with only organic apple powder. The original green is more of a metabolic support, containing our A to Z, B, and C. Super berries, obviously full of antioxidants, great for post-workout to keeping the body from oxidizing, and great anti-aging strategy. Raw cacao is very high in minerals, particularly for inflammation and bone building. Using plant-based minerals, I am now able to reverse osteoporosis. And so really it just comes down to whole food nutrients that the body recognizes. And in fact, studies show that whole food nutrients, as compared to synthetics, are 200 to 1,500 times more effective. So if you're avoiding unlabeled GMO foods, you choose organic foods to keep your body clean. And likewise, if you're taking supplements, I encourage you to look for the organic symbol on your products. So let's talk about some conscious living strategies that can help us maintain a healthier indoor environment. And as we all know, our indoor environment could be as toxic and even more toxic than the outdoor environment. So from reducing, reusing, recycling, turning off our lights, and so on, being more mindful of products we bring into our homes, there are many ways that we can reduce our toxic load and to live a more conscious life to better our health and the health of the planet. So here are some examples of things that you can use, from baking soda, essential oils, lemon juice, liquid Castile soap, hydrogen peroxide, white vinegar, olive oil, and salt that you can easily find in your kitchen or in your local grocery store that can be used as cleaning agents without looking for regular commercial products that are highly toxic and corrosive. Personal care items. So if you look to the list on the right, that's actually taken from David Suzuki's foundation called Cosmeceutical Dirty Dozen of chemicals that are commonly found in cosmeceuticals and personal care products. Many ingredients listed are considered persistent in the environment because they're oil-based and don't dissolve easily in water. Many have the potential to cause cancer, are endocrine disruptors, and cause irritation in skin and eye. Thankfully, there are now many more organic cosmeceutical and personal care products in the marketplace, and of course, I encourage you to look for those. Reducing energy consumption, yeah, absolutely. Climate change is a problem of personal consumption, so turn off the lights. Other things you could do: buying local, travel less, using renewable energy, and so on. Embracing minimalism, getting rid of stuff that you no longer use reduces clutter, mental stress, and greatly reduces our carbon footprints. Supporting your stress, these are some of the key things that we want to incorporate for those of us that are stressed. This is also an ebook that you can get from us. Practicing breathing, spending time in nature, incorporating laughter and playtime, exercising in the morning. Eating regularly helps to stabilize our cortisol levels, which spares our adrenal function. And really taking time out in the evening for that quiet time. You can do things like yin yoga, meditation, playing, music that are quiet. For example, classical music, massages, getting your sleep in there. All these things really helps to restore tired adrenals. It allows you to get that deep restorative sleep so that the next day you have some adrenal reserve to get through your day. So these are great strategies to think about. So now let's talk about some wonderful recipes that can help cleanse your body and to support you through what I think is a very huge problem that is not just global, but that on a daily basis that all of us are needing to address. This particular recipe, called the Metabolic Stress Support Smoothie, has proteins from milk, avocado, and sprouted seeds, Great way to start the day with a handful of pre-washed veggies. You can incorporate the Quanta A to Z, B, and C to support metabolism, especially during times of chronic stress. Adding turmeric can reduce inflammation. That's quite a potential for people that are stressed. Cinnamon to balance your blood sugar, both of which also gives you that yin and yang balance. So, because most of the vegetables are very cold in nature, having these yang herbs helps to balance the energy. Adding raw cacao gives you the chocolate flavor, but more importantly, the magnesium helps you to relax your muscles and for post-workout recovery. So very simply, you blend and drink this in the morning with or without your breakfast, and also to incorporate some of the stress management strategies we've already talked about. So this recipe will help to restore energy that is sustainable without the use of caffeine and sugar, should improve mood, reduce weight, and support immunity. Okay, so a wonderful recipe for those people having stress challenges. Next one is the inflammation and bone support smoothie. It contains protein from milks, avocado, and sprouted seeds. Anything that are underlined here in the recipes are key to these formulations. You can add fruit to taste, but if you have high blood sugar, you may want to reduce the amount of fruit. Minerals from kale, raw cacao helps to alkalize, helps to reduce inflammation, again, in the form of food nutrients that the body recognizes. A to Z, B, and C really helps to restore cortisol, which is, as you know, the main anti-inflammatory hormone. So restoring that hormone in the body helps to reduce inflammation. A to Z and raw cacao smoothie booster, adding A to Z plus the raw cacao smoothie boosters helps to restore bone mass density for those people that are needing the high doses of calcium and magnesium from the smoothie booster. Adding turmeric helps to reduce inflammation. So very simply, you blend, drink this particular inflammation bone support recipe instead of breakfast, and eating a plant-based alkalizing diet definitely is great for controlling inflammation and bone building. For extreme inflammation like fibromyalgia, I usually, in fact, take my patients off of any animal protein and dairy for a month, and I typically see tremendous results the following month. So I can then incorporate some of these animal products back. But reducing animal intake is really key to reducing inflammation. Next recipe is for digestive support. Apple cider vinegar and lemon adds acid to help break down protein and clean the gastrointestinal tract. Kombucha, sauerkraut juice, and kimchi are fermented foods that offer good, healthy probiotic gut bacteria. Pineapple gives you those digestive enzymes that help break down the proteins and to clean your gastrointestinal tract and to reduce inflammation. Cabbage, I don't know if any of you know this, but it has vitamin E, which helps to heal the gut lining, especially for people with GERD and heartburn. Mint leaves helps to promote acid production from the stomach. Quanta A to Z gives you that background nutritional support as well as the metabolic support. Ginger helps with digestion, also gives you a yin and yang balance in this recipe. And very simply, you blend and drink 1/4 of this mixture before your meals and keep the rest in the fridge for other meals. You should obviously learn to relax and give thanks if you tend to have digestive issues. Chew your foods well. You may want to do food combining and don't drink as many fluids during your meals. Caution is that kombucha may have caffeine, so for those of you sensitive to caffeine, don't use this, especially at nighttime, or just leave it out of this recipe. And also to rinse your mouth or brush your teeth after the meals, because this recipe can be corrosive to your teeth. Okay. Next one is quite topical and relevant, liver cleansing smoothie. So very simply, there's the alternative milks like almond, hemp, coconut, provides a protein and natural fats. The fruits and vegetables, which are loaded with fiber, phytonutrients that protect us against inflammation, oxidation, premature aging, are great in this formula. Taking the A to Z, B, and C for cellular metabolism helps with detoxification. And adding the proteins, whey, avocado, hemp seeds are great. So it's ideal for everyone, especially for moms before conception. Simply, you blend these things in the morning. You could take it with or without your breakfast. If you're having the proteins added to it, then you could do it instead of breakfast. Avoid alcohol, meats, and fried foods during the cleanse to give your livers excuse me, a break from these foods so it can cleanse maximally. Next one is kidney cleansing. Um, Parsley, dandelion leaves, and corn silk are diuretics and helps to flush things through the kidney using watermelons. Some of these fruits here. So it's best to do kidney cleanses without the use of animal proteins in order to give your kidneys a break. Perhaps doing kidney cleanses without breakfast and drinking water throughout the day over the weekend may be a helpful thing, and then going back to your regular diet or other cleanses during the week. So this is a great way of cleaning your kidneys. If you've ever read anything that may cause side effects to your liver or kidneys, because in terms of toxicology, these are the two main organs detoxification. So it really comes down to these two glands. But toxins, as you know, could also show up through the lymph and eventually surface through the skin. So this is where this next one is quite relevant. Lymph fluid comes from the large intestine and from the liver. So having good fats helps to move toxins through the lymph. And what's unique about this particular one is you add echinacea, which helps to support. So you brew a cup of the echinacea tea and let it chill, and then you add it to the smoothie recipe. So that helps with the lymph, and then nettle tea could also help clean the blood and skin. Adding cucumber, celery, and lemons also helps. Vitamin B and C is excellent for healthy skin, hair, and skin, hair, and nails. We've had lots of people come to us telling us about how strong their nails have become, how healthy the skin situation have become from taking these two supplements. Adding ginger and cayenne helps to flush things out by dilating your blood vessels, allowing toxins to flow up freely. So what you want to do is blend and drink in the morning instead of breakfast, especially if you're already adding some protein to the mix. Other instructions: dry skin brushing before showers, doing jumping jacks or jumping on mini trampolines for 15 minutes also helps with lymphatic drainage. Saunas are excellent for detoxification, and I've had a chance of working with a group of patients over a month where we do an hour to 2 hour long saunas. And after that 30-day treatment program, everyone claimed that their faces felt like the baby's bottom. So saunas are a great way of detoxifying. So in summary, eat an organic, plant-based diet, regular cleansing with organic salads and smoothies. Rely less on synthetic pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, and cosmeceuticals. Practice minimalism, buy fewer goods from China. Practice stress management strategies. Increase your awareness around what we've talked about. There's a lot more information out there, and certainly we want you to share this with as many people as you can. Certainly get involved with nonprofit or various community events that helps to clean up our environment. And most importantly, yourself and people you know, get them to vote with their buying dollars. It certainly has made a difference. It's caused even major multinationals to change their food formulations and packaged foods because people simply weren't buying them. So that's it. Certainly, we have this particular talk to include some of these recipes that we just talked about. So we will email that to us, and there's other information we can send you as ebooks, both on the Healthy People, Healthy Planet, as well as Mastery of Metabolism. So, any questions? Jennifer says, that's terrifying. I love this product. Interested in referring the Mom's A to Z to a friend, obviously, great. Would love a copy of this, so I just told you how you can get this information. And Madison just responded to this, so that's it. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and if you have any questions, feel free to email us, and look forward to giving the next webinar. Take care.